Hello, young fellows. What would you do if one day you woke up and found photos of yourself while you were sleeping and you lived alone? Prepare yourself, dim the lights, and join me on this journey into the realm of terror. My name is Fabio, and I will tell you what happened when I was in my second year of college. In my first year of college, I rented a small room, but when my lease expired due to the pandemic, I had to vacate the room. The owner told me that he would need to sell the house, and due to the recent pandemic, he had many financial problems. Far from being upset, I understood it, so I took on the task of looking for another place. I was fortunate enough to find a place really very close to the college. I was surprised no one had located it before. They were small apartments located just 2 blocks from the college. The apartment I rented was on the ground floor, the first and personally the most comfortable because it had a small patio, 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a bathroom. Everything you need to share the rent with someone else. It wouldn't be difficult to find someone else, especially with how cheap the rent was. The neighbors seemed very friendly to me. Most were already elderly.
Good morning.
My neighbor across the hall was quite friendly because in the weeks when the move began, he greeted me every morning and looked for a chat. When I finished moving in early August, I knew that if I found a roommate, it would be almost at the beginning of the semester, as long as classes weren't cancelled. It all started on a Sunday night. I had already arranged everything I needed to start studying in the room facing the street. I closed the blinds, made coffee, and started studying and working on a project since I was developing an application. It was already after midnight when I heard someone knocking on the window. Although I had headphones on, I could hear it quite clearly. I got up from my place and opened the blinds a little, but I didn't see anything. I thought it was due to the weather outside because a storm was coming. I looked at the time, and it was almost 1 in the morning, so I stopped at that moment. After a couple of minutes of going to bed, I was looking at my cell phone when the tapping on the window again scared me. It was as if someone was tapping constantly with their finger. I quickly got up and opened the blinds. There I met an older man who looked like he was wondering who I was. A disgusting smell entered my room. It stank like rotten food. I imagined it was that older man, to which I asked him, shouting, "How can I help you?" He ignored me, and he left, and the smell left too. I went back to my bed, set the alarm, and got ready to sleep. My alarm is always set for 6 a.m. I liked swimming, but with the pandemic, I had to modify my routine to jog around the college. When I got out of bed, there was still no daylight, but the glow of the light posts fell on my face. That's when I realized the blinds were open. Maybe I had forgotten to close them. I didn't remember clearly. I realized my cell phone was on the floor. I picked it up, shut the blinds, and went to the bathroom. Just while I was sitting on the toilet, it caught my attention that my cell phone notified me that there was insufficient storage available. So when I saw that I had recently added photos and videos, I started deleting them. There were hundreds of photographs of me sleeping. Someone had taken photos of me with my cell phone and a video of several hours of recording. It was as if someone had propped my cell phone next to me on the shelf and let it record. I played it faster. The blinds had opened during the video. The video was abruptly interrupted. I was frozen with fear. Maybe that was still inside my apartment. So I waited inside the bathroom for a while, trying to listen carefully to see if anyone was inside. I thought about calling the police, but nothing had happened. Maybe they would take it as a bad joke, so I waited. I realized that I could already see daylight. I quickly left the bathroom, ran to the entrance, and stayed outside, waiting for it to come out. However, no one came out. A couple of days after what happened to me with my cell phone, I already felt a little calmer about it. I saved the photographs and videos on my computer. The next night, nothing happened. I asked the apartment owner if anyone else had keys, and he assured me that only he and I had them. I didn't want to tell him why I asked him. Tuesday night I was watching television. I had already had dinner. Even outside the apartment you could hear some movement. It was not very late. If I remember correctly, it was 10 at night. I was looking for something to watch on television when, from my bedroom, I heard a loud bang, as if someone had dropped my books. I lowered the volume to the minimum. I stared at the door of my bedroom, thinking what could have been that noise, and just when I was about to get up, the door to my bedroom opened completely. The light in my bedroom turned on. This was already strange. I was sure no one was in the apartment. I was the only one. I ran to the front door, immediately leaving the apartment, leaving the door open. From the outside, I could see my bedroom with the lights on. I looked for my phone to call the police, but I had left it on the couch. As I stood there, the light abruptly vanished. A wave of uncertainty washed over me. Should I run for help, or should I stay and unravel this mystery? My curiosity won. I crept closer to the window, straining to see inside. The room was empty, but the television was on, flickering through channels as if someone was searching for something to watch, until it reached a channel with pure static, leaving it there for several minutes. Just then, a couple passed by. I quickly asked for their help, telling them that someone had broken into my apartment. They called the police. About 10 minutes later, a patrol arrived. I told them about the situation, avoiding discussing my fear. Perhaps out of shame, I didn't mention it. A few minutes later, they left the apartment, commenting that they searched everywhere. They turned off the television, searched my bedroom, and found nothing. They gave me my phone. The neighbors were already gossiping about what was happening. I didn't know what to say, so I only thanked the police officers. When I decided to enter my apartment again, my neighbor across the hall asked me what had happened. I told him everything from the photographs and videos on my cell phone to the noises I had heard. He offered to let me sleep in his apartment because he told me he needed to tell me something. I didn't feel like sleeping in my apartment after what happened, so I accepted the invitation. It was midnight. My neighbor made me coffee and told me something that perplexed me. A couple of years ago, an old man lived in the apartment where you live. He was very grumpy, didn't like people, and locked himself in and watched television with the volume ridiculously high. Because of his attitude, no one visited him or sought him out. A few weeks after the last time we saw him, the residents of the apartment above complained of a foul and disgusting smell. They identified it as coming from the apartment below, so they knocked on the door. But the old man did not want to open it. If I remember correctly, 2 days passed, and the smell reached here, so my wife and I knocked on his door. When we got to the door, those from the above apartment joined us. We knocked several times, but he didn't open the door. However, the television was very loud. We decided to break down the door, and after several blows, we managed to knock it down to find the body of the old man, lifeless, sitting in the armchair in front of the television with his mouth full of flies. My wife couldn't stand it and vomited. The smell was horrible. Apparently that man had already died a couple of weeks ago, but no one had noticed. I didn't know what to say. If I'd found out that it was an apartment where someone had recently died, I would have thought twice before renting the place. Later, when I was getting ready to sleep, I looked out the window and noticed that the television in my apartment was on. The next day, I took out my things with the help of my neighbor, who kindly offered me a room until I found a new place. A few days passed, and when I walked past the apartment at night, I felt the presence of someone inside, as if they were watching me. But something that worries me a lot is that since my cell phone was left in the apartment, it notifies me that I have new photos and videos added.